What is up, everyone? We're gonna watch the video, The Genius of Doki Doki Literature Club. Let's get on with
I
it.
like to think that 2017 was an incredible year for video games. In March, you had the release of the Switch, bringing masterpieces like Breath of the Wild at launch and Super Mario Odyssey and Xenoblade Chronicles 2 towards the end of the year. Nier Automata, Resident Evil 7, and Horizon Zero Dawn were just a few of the many AAA titles that were greeted with plenty of praise as well. And to top it all off, you had indie developers coming out with bangers like Hollow Knight and Cuphead. But there was one indie game in particular that I was not ready for. A game that would make me so uncomfortable, so disturbed, so terrified, but make itself so memorable.
I did not think Doki Doki came out 2017. Why I think it came out way before then. I don't know. It feels like such a cult classic. It feels like it came out way before like 2010s era, like
That
2010
game
or
was
something.
Getting Over It with Bennett Foddy. That game was Doki Doki Literature Club. If you somehow don't know about DDLC by now, I'll quickly explain what the dealio is here. On the surface, it looks and is meant to look like a generic dating sim. The promotional material is plastered with high school anime girls and everything's made to be very overly cutesy. But as you scan the Steam page, boom! Psychological horror under the tags. My initial reaction to this was something like, didn't Danny do a little oopsie and misclick? Like, seems pretty innocent to me. The literature club is full of cute girls. Will you write the way into their heart? This game's not suitable for children or those who are easily disturbed. Yeah, I think I'm good. But no, I wasn't good. I could not stop thinking about this game. Curiosity consumed me and eventually got the best of me. So, I experienced it. And boy, was it a wild ride. The sheer insanity of this visual novel was instantly picked up on by a good handful of Let's Players, streamers, and gamers in general, garnering a colossal DDLC fanbase. And if we fast forward to the present, we can see that popularity now reflected in a console port and expansion of this game. Heck, there's even a retail version, like what the hell? Either way, this republishing gave me an excuse to go through Doki Doki Literature Club for the first time in...
If you guys want me to ever play the retail version, $50. Yo, okay, I'm not gonna lie. I don't like the way, what's her name? Natsuki's hair looks in the remade version. I don't know. Hers is the only one that looks off. Everyone else's hair looks fine, but hers looks kind of weird.
For years, along with some additional bonus content to chew on. And it means I can cover a semi-recent game for the first time. If you've watched my videos before, you know I'm really bad at making videos on new releases. Like, I get it. 2 years old, 4 years old, 7 years old, 24 years old. But guess what? 6 months old, baby. Let's go. That's what I'm talking about. Hell yeah. So I sat down and played through everything the game had to offer. Every decision, every poem, every route, every jump scare, every side story, you name it. And several pages of notes later, I can confidently say that Doki Doki Literature Club is one of the most unique, effective, remarkable, and unforgettable psychological horror experiences out there. And I'm here to break down why. So grab something to hug, and let's start at the beginning. Opening the game for the first time instantly brings up the same warning you saw on the Steam page, so either Dan Salvato is really committed to this bit, or this game is actually real messed up. It's the latter! Upon agreeing to sell your soul to Monica, another disclaimer pops up saying, all characters are 18 years or older, like, yeah, okay. There is no way in hell you're gonna convince me that Natsuki's older than 12. Either way, you reach the very over-the-top title screen. Okay, this song's a banger though. You then get to name the protagonist, and the story starts right away. The first act of DDLC is pretty tame, which is what it needs to be. You assume the role of a high school boy who joins a literature club because he just loves reading oh so much. But this slow start is crucial, as it's what lets the game develop that facade. The funny thing with DDLC is how it kind of overcompensates in a lot of ways to distract you from all those trigger warnings. Take the characters for example. Even in the release trailer, they literally advertise what trope they fall under. The first is Sayori, the daydreamer of the group. She's always in her own world, but wants nothing more than for everyone to be happy, and that's reflected in how upbeat she always is. Yuri is the shy one. She's really into fantasy, super insecure, constantly apologizing, and best girl. Natsuki is the exact opposite. Being a tsundere, she's extremely confrontational, always getting into fights, and watches Crunchyroll 24/7. And how could you forget Monica, the class star? She's the president of the club, and apparently the most popular girl in school. With these four, you kinda got all the bases covered, considering how heavily they represent their respective archetypes. It's beyond amusing seeing how they overcommit to the whole dating sim disguise. Tropes are notorious for getting extremely tiring extremely fast. But here, the amplification of them adds this precious vibrance and comedy to their characters. It's almost like a parody, and I adore it. But we're forgetting someone. The protagonist. He doesn't have an in-game sprite, but he's supposed to look something like this. The thing I love about this guy is that he actually has a personality.
That's so funny. Like his sprite low key looks like a Chad. Like he does not look like a nerd, which is insane because bro is built different. Like you would think he looked like the generic type of protagonist, but that's not generic at all. Bro looks kind of like it is generic, but at the same time, it's giving too much to him.
Adore it. But we're forgetting someone. The protagonist. He doesn't have an in-game sprite.
Is this really what he looks like? Because I know there's a fan made one.
The thing I love about this guy is that he actually has a personality. He's patient, kind, but also a bit snarky, and maybe the biggest weeb on the planet. These attributes make for so many fun dynamics and interactions with other characters, something that's sure to keep the player engaged. The main setting of the game is the club itself. There are a couple instances in which you go elsewhere, but those are rare occurrences. That being said, the first portion of DDLC primarily consists of participating in club activities, aka sharing and reading literature. Checks out. But what about the gameplay? Being a visual novel, it's fairly sparse. It boils down to reading dialogue and the occasional decision here and there. So speedruns look something like this. However, you do have writing your own poems present as a fairly unique mechanic. All dating sims have to have some way for you to pursue a certain character. For Okie Doki Artichoke, you write the way into their hearts, meaning you scribe a certain type of poem depending on the girl you're going after. Of course, this game doesn't literally have you write poems. That would take skill. The writing itself is done through a cute little minigame after every club meeting. The goal is to please your crush by choosing all their favorite words. You'll know if you're doing well because their chibi model will jump for joy whenever you select a word they like. Yuri was my favorite, and since she's Cloud Strife's long-lost sister, I chose all the edgy words.
Why? I don't think so, but y'all are so extra with
what
that.
Determines the character route you take and who you end up romancing, further playing into the deception. And by romancing, I mean you chill with them at the club. Calm down, it's not like anything crazy happens. You usually just hang out, read a book, fall down again, whatever this is. Like seriously, I look away for 2 seconds and the steam levels are through the roof. I know I already went over the characters pretty briefly, but I want to come back to them, because building relationships with these girls is what each of their routes are all about. The first, and my favorite to go through, was Yuri's. And hold it with your comments saying, wow, all it takes is an ample bosom for GPS to say they're an amazing character. Hey, that's not true. I know it may look like there's a pattern, but personality has always been the real deal. When I played Three Houses, you think I married Manuela? Mercedes? Hilda? No. Dorothea? Well, maybe. Let's pretend I didn't say anything, okay? Anyway, back to Yuri. Like I mentioned before, she's extremely timid and socially awkward, but that's what makes her relatable. Like, look at these sprites. That's literally me. It's adorable whenever she apologizes for nothing. It's so wholesome seeing her begin to open up about herself. My favorite moment with her is after she reads your third poem. Yuri explains to you how she eats by herself at lunch, but that's the way she likes it. It gives her time to read and get lost in her own world, with fictional friends that won't make fun of her for spacing out, acting like a know-it-all, or for her body. Reading these words tugged at my...
You know what's crazy though? It's so normal for people to make fun of people with like her body type. Even in the game, I remember seeing a scene where Natsuki makes fun of her chest. It's just like it's always so funny because like I mean, don't get me wrong, they do it with flat chested people too. But like people hate it when they do it with flat chested people. But like I've seen comments always do it with like I remember someone was like, "Oh my gosh, you always gotta have the big titties." I was just like, "Bro, like it's not that big of a deal. Like, oh my gosh, we have different body types." It's just like imagine if I went to um, a VTuber who had a flat chest, right, and were like, "Oh my goodness, you got mosquito bites on you." Like, bro, imagine, like they would not like that. It's just insane because I see this all the time when they're just like, "Oh my gosh, you gotta have the big titties, you gotta have the big titties." I'm like, bro, I'm sorry, I prefer having a body preference that's more adultish, but like that's my preference. Like, excuse you, like, oh my goodness, people have different body sizes. Like, oh my goodness, it's insane to think.
heartstrings, and I immediately sympathize with her. It's lines like these that fully connect you with the characters. But then you have Natsuki. Look, I'm
But
sorry, but she's just not for me. Natsuki is essentially Yuri's counterpart and polar opposite. She's hot-headed, only reads manga, and is considerably rude. Being a tsundere, she obviously gets better.
like, imagine if you were like, oh my goodness, Natsuki's such a lolly. Look at her flat chested. Like, bro, you know the amount of people who be like, oh my goodness, why you hating? Why you hating? You're such a hater. But that's literally how it be like once people be coming at you. It'd be like, bro, what? What?
But the start with her is rough. If you ever show her a poem she doesn't like, she gets angry and makes you feel like the scum of the earth. If you ever show her a poem she does like, she gets jealous and still makes you feel like the scum of the earth. In short, whenever there's an opportunity to instigate or disapprove, she takes it. She wants to get in trouble, she wants to start a fight. The last route you can take is Sayori's. The interesting thing about this one is that Sayori has always been the protagonist's best friend, ever since they were kids. With that being said, the main character's observant nature becomes especially prominent here. These scenes are less about reading and more about the importance of the protagonist's existence in Sayori's life. They reminisce about old times, and it's just really sweet. Plus, Yuri and Natsuki actually get along a bit in this route. Like, hell yeah! Now I know what you're thinking. What about Monica? When you write your poems, her chibi sprite isn't there. You can never write a poem specifically for her, and well, she doesn't have a route. In fact, you know the least about her of the four of them. Yuri, Natsuki, and Sayori all express a certain adoration for something unique, but other than wanting to play piano, Monica has nothing going for her. She's portrayed as this enigmatic figure, and there's always a bit of distance between you. Some might fall for the red herring that, oh, she's the president of the club and most popular girl in the school. Of course she's not gonna talk to you, idiot. But I always suspected something was a bit off. She never felt human. Her personality was always suspiciously absent. And not like faking sick absent. I'm talking on the trip to the Bahamas absent. Like they're not even in the same country. And that's reflected through plenty of in-game details. Even something as subtle as the sprites were a huge red flag in my eyes. Sayori, Yuri, and Natsuki's artworks are all super expressive and emotive. Notice how they're all slightly positioned to the side as well to give the feeling of a third dimension. But Monica just stares right at you like she's taking a mugshot. It's so lifeless and flat. And there's like damn near all of them. Jeez. Except this one. I like this one. If you keep comparing her to the other girls, there's even more to consider. Like take a look at something as simple as their names. Sayori, Natsuki, Yuri, all of them end with the letter I. Suddenly, Monica as a name seems pretty odd. And how about the designs? Obviously, they all have a school uniform, so their clothing is identical. But look who's the only one wearing black socks. Everything about her seemingly distances
right.
herself from everyone else.
You're so
and the funny
right.
thing is, we haven't even considered her dialogue yet. If you know anything
Bro, this man, bro is deep diving. Bro is already doing the deep dive like it's an iceberg.
remotely
You know what he needs to do? He needs to be like Masahiro Sakurai. Super Smash Bros. Brawl was made by none other than Masahiro Sakurai.
read about this game, then you know it likes to do a little thing called breaking the fourth wall. A lot. The first, and one of the tamer breaks, is Monica's second writing tip of the day. Sometimes, you'll find yourself facing a difficult decision. When that happens, don't forget to save your game. You never know when you'll change your mind, or something unexpected might happen. Hey, thanks Monica, I appreciate it. Wait, hold up. Team Salvato continues to utilize Monica to embrace the fact that yes, this is a game. We see this again with Natsuki's squid joke, in which he tries to make a pun with Monica's name and squid. This wordplay only works in Japanese, which Monica notes, saying, that joke makes no sense in translation. It's a tad more subtle than the first, but definitely intentional as proven by Natsuki's confused expression and Monica's immediate redaction of the statement. But my absolute favorite of her smaller fourth wall breaks comes from after the protagonist mentions that most of the members of the club tend to write about sad things, to which Monica responds with, if everything was okay, we really wouldn't have anything to write about, would we? Humans are two-dimensional creatures. Two-dimensional, huh? Like a drawing from a visual novel? If you think I'm tripping, the protagonist literally corrects her and she breaks a sweat like always. What I love about these moments is the balance they manage to achieve. They're subtle enough to be woven into the conversation, but still unnerving enough to set off some small alarms. And the best part is that the game is absolutely littered with these. If we keep moving through the narrative, you find Monica's actions becoming more and more questionable. Take the day you present your third poem, for example. Right off the bat, the protagonist finds Sayori sitting alone at a desk, quite the contrary to her usual social nature. He checks up on her, but only for her to tell him that, oh, it's nothing. She even accuses him of worrying too much about her. Huh, that's weird. Well, let's talk to Monica about it. It is kinda her responsibility being the president and all. What does she have to say? I can't say I've noticed anything about her. Oh, you think you're real slick, don't you? I'll have you know, you won't fool a trained detective like myself. I played Luigi's Mansion 3. I killed Polterkitty. We all know this is whack as hell, but Monika does end up speaking to Sayori. Obviously, we can't trust her, so we decide to visit Sayori the next day. She's a tad hesitant to open up at first, but eventually does confess how she suffered from severe depression her whole life. Most
That's
days,
crazy.
she can't find a reason to get out of bed, eat, go to school, or even make friends. Sayori feels so worthless and doesn't want anyone to waste their emotions or caring on her. She just wants them to be happy and not burdened by her own issues. It's even more heartbreaking to see how the developers build on Sayori's depression. She finds you spending time with either Yuri or Natsuki and insists it makes her happy.
Why is the color so large? Like, dang, I was looking out the I low-key was like, oh my eyes! I low-key was like, dang, they too bright.
All she ever wanted was for the protagonist to make new friends and have fun with them, which was exactly what she was witnessing. But instead of the joy she longed for, all she experiences is pain, as if her heart was splitting in half. All of this has made her feel that much less significant to the world, and now more than ever, she wishes she could just disappear. Her dialogue alone is more than capable of conveying this internal pain to the player. If I wasn't here, then you wouldn't have to waste your sympathy on me. You wouldn't have to put up with me being so selfish. Monika was right. Wait, Monika? This is where the president of the literature club turns into a threat. With this reaction, I think it's more than safe to assume that whatever talk they had here only made things worse. And intentionally. But still, this is about Sayori. I've already gushed about it a bit, but this scene was such a tearjerker, and the protagonist's words of support make it all the more emotional. You even get the choice to confess to her, and either way, the conversation fortunately ends in a far more comfortable place, with feelings of bliss and security. Her depression seems to be considerably more manageable with the protagonist by her side, and things are looking up. So you each go home and prepare for the festival the next day. Okay, so starting now, I'm gonna begin discussing all the unsettling, creepy horror elements of Doki Doki Literature Club.
I wonder why it's called a horror.
Start coming in. So if you still want to play this game blind, turn back now. Alright, let's resume. Our main character returns to school the next day, and finds only Monika at the club. The situation in itself is fairly ordinary, but wait, where's the music? The game suddenly becomes dead quiet, an extremely jarring shift from the usual upbeat tunes you have in the background. I had to check that I didn't accidentally mute anything. Building off of the alarming silence, you then take a look at the pamphlet containing the poems the members would be sharing to promote the club. Natsuki and Yuri's are apparently the same from rehearsal, but then we flip to Sayori's page and find the words "get out of my head" repeatedly scrawled over the paper. Rightfully unsettled, the protagonist sprints to Sayori's house. He knocks on her door. "Sayori, wake up, dummy." There's no response. Feeling as if he doesn't really have a choice, he hesitantly opens the door. Only to find that Sayori has taken
did she always have that outfit? I don't remember the outfit.
He tries to process the situation, but just like the player, he remains in disbelief. But let's rewind a tad. What did Monika say before we left campus? Well, for some reason, she's fully informed on your heart-to-heart with Sayori the previous day, and then goes to tell you should take a little responsibility for her. I mean, especially after your exchange with her yesterday, you kinda left her hanging this morning.
Bruh!
Oh my god.
Yo!
This text box left my jaw.
Yo! She's a villain. Y'all's love her. Y'all's really be loving her. Yo, that's a menace energy. That's some menace energy right there. That's crazy to say. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness, girl. Yo! That's so messed up. That's crazy.
Wide open. I look like a freaking Mr. Beast thumbnail. It's such a disgusting line, hidden right there in plain sight. Honestly, big props to Team Salvato. It makes me want to vomit, but it's damn genius. But Monika does not get the free pass. Don't think I'm done with you yet. This girl has gone from strange but tame to downright insensitive, and we haven't even seen the half of it. It's at this point in the campaign where DDLC separates itself from other dating sims and cutesy to horror games, and it's all because of self-awareness. Instead of resuming the same storyline after Sayori's death, the game ends and then reboots itself. You find yourself at a familiar title screen, except somebody is a bit confused. Upon starting a new save file, the game seems the same. That is, until it starts speaking in wingdings. Essentially, whenever Sayori is supposed to show up, the story just doesn't know what to do. That's why crap like this happens. This is obviously unplayable, so the narrative begins to seemingly rewrite itself, but as if Sayori never existed. This isn't traditionally scary, but it's just as, if not more effective. DDLC doesn't need a spooky environment or elaborate jump scares to be horrific. Instead, it takes something normal and keeps twisting it bit by bit until you squirm in your chair and feel severely uncomfortable. And I'm sure you know by now that this all comes back to the poster girl herself. Since Sayori isn't there to take you to the literature club, Monica glitches herself into the classroom and drags you there herself. Most of the events play out in identical fashion, but here and there, they'll make sure to keep you on your toes. Whether it's with arbitrary cursed text with an overly thick outline, staggering amplifications of dialogue, intentional glitches, or just a whole lot of Monica. Most are obvious, but then others are just hiding in plain sight, and sometimes that's the most effective way to go about it. Here I present to you this background art of the DDLC classroom. Notice anything? Well, what if I zoomed in? Cause man, it is not subtle in the slightest. And dude, what they do with the music is just so good.
It sounds
Suddenly off
jarring.
pitch without warning, and it just makes you squirm. At this point, everything is quite literally turned up to 11, and you'll see why. Considering how much damn text is in this game, Team Salvato would be foolish not to take advantage of this. That being said, they aren't fools. Quite the opposite, actually. We've already seen how expertly they did it with Monica in the first act, but we start to find those moments of trepidation leaking their way through the other girls' words as well. When Yuri described her book titled The Portrait of Markov in Act 1, it was a bit dark, but nothing too crazy. Basically, it's about this girl in high school who moves in with her long-lost sister. She gets targeted by these people who escaped from a human experiment prison, and while her life is in danger, she needs to desperately choose who to trust. No matter what she does, she ends up destroying most of her relationships, and her life starts to fall apart. A bit on the edgier side for sure, but nothing overly disturbing. That's not the case second time round, because it's like 10 times darker. Basically, it's about this religious camp that was turned into a human experiment prison, and the people trapped there have this trait that turns them into killing machines that lust for blood. And the facility gets even worse, and they start selectively breeding people by cutting off their limbs and affixating them to... Oh, that might be a little bit of a spoiler.
What?
Oh, you don't say. Even that silly argument between Natsuki and Yuri goes totally off the rails. They're both so much more aggressive and insensitive with every insult. Natsuki accuses Yuri of cutting herself. Yuri calls her toxic, even swears. Guys, Yuri swears! The music starts speeding up, static starts creeping in, the camera moves closer and closer and closer. Guys, what is happening? Natsuki said something rather interesting. Whoa, be careful, you might cut yourself on that edge, Yuri. Oh, my bad. You already do, don't you?
Oh.
If we have learned anything about this game, it's that metaphors don't exist. Take everything you hear literally, and it's not any different here. We already knew Yuri was into knives back in Act 1, but it was fairly innocent. She appreciated them for their beauty and as a form of art, but now it's straight up masochistic. You catch her in the hallway with cuts all over her forearm, and let's just say it's not a pretty sight. However, the more noticeable change in her demeanor is how much more obsessive she's become. You show her your poem one day, and she really likes it. Like, really likes it. Giga Ultra Turbo likes it. And that in itself is fine. Pretty harmless, actually. But then she starts going on about giving herself paper cuts with it and masturbating to it. And I'm just like, what? Okay, that's...
Yo, this is not Kogias. What? Excuse me. Yo, this is why Doki don't got voice acting. Oh my goodness. What? What? Excuse me. That's crazy. That's wild. That was...
That's fine. Let's just pretend that never happened. Instead, we'll simply enjoy her poem. Oh, and you've endowed it with your scent? What the hell? Natsuki's definitely not as bad, but not in the clear either. She doesn't urinate on her own poems.
What?
She does beg you to play with her.
Oh my... What? What is this? What? You guys want me to play this game? What? Okay.
Until her head snaps. Yikes. The sad thing is, it seems to be totally involuntary for the both of them. They're in utter shock when they come to their senses, and it's truly disheartening. With each instance, these girls reach a new level of unlikableness, and it's not even their fault. Well, not all of them, because taking a look at those who have remained normal, it's just Monica. But normal is a very strong word, because while she doesn't have a knife fetish and hasn't become blatantly yandere, she remains incredibly suspicious. If you thought she was indiscreet in Act 1, then boy are you in for a wild ride. Whenever Yuri and Natsuki have their little episodes, Monica pulls you away and says, if this makes you want to spend less time with the others, then that's fine. I'd be happy to spend it with you instead. Like, damn, that's not very nice. Team Sovato's goal with Monica here is to make you feel trapped, and that starts kicking in right about now. Everything that happens finds its way back to Monica. Just Monica. And the way they implement it is just so uniquely brilliant. In Act 1, we had a bit of fourth wall breaking in the form of dialogue. But what if we went beyond that? When Yuri's having one of her moments in the hallway, a little someone starts to slowly turn down the opacity until she's in front of the text box. Come on, Monica, that's a bit rude. Can't you see I'm trying to read here? But what makes DDLC so special is how it messes with the actual mechanics of the game. Obviously, they aren't super complicated, but they still manage to integrate their horrific fun. The scene in which you have to choose who to spend the weekend with plays out in similar fashion to the rest of this act. It's more aggressive, and they're all going for each other's throats, fighting over poor Giga Chad. When you go to make the selection, you're presented with the illusion of choice, which is so sick, by the way. If your jaw didn't drop at this part, I don't know what to tell you. The best part about all this is how Natsuki and Yuri start catching on to Monica. Yuri keeps mentioning how she just wishes they could have a bit of privacy, because Monica's always listening. Natsuki's final poem is literally a cry for help, in which she's genuinely concerned for Yuri's mental health. She asks you to convince her to speak with a therapist, because you're the only one she talks to for some reason. Yeah, I wonder why. And then she touches on how dismissive Monica's been about everything, and whatever you do, don't let her know I wrote this.
Dang. Yo, Monica's out for blood. She's a cold-hearted snake. Look into her eyes. Uh-oh. She's been telling lies. She's a lover boy of late. She's been playing the rules. She's been lying lies. Cold-hearted snakes. Look into her eyes. Uh-oh. She's been telling lies.
It is so terrifyingly enthralling seeing the events of this game unfold, and that's why it's so damn good. You're constantly on edge, and that feeling just builds and builds. So with that being said, what does the climax look like? Let's take a look, because it does not disappoint in the slightest. So after you choose to spend the weekend with Monica against your will, the other girls, aren't happy, which is fine, until Yuri pulls out the 180 and asks Monica if she's ever considered killing herself.
What? Yo! I thought I was gonna say until Yuri pulls out the Glock. I thought I really was gonna go be like, and then Yuri pulls out the Glock.
Natsuki is rightly frightened, and she and Monica leave the club promptly, leaving us all alone with Yuri. Great. The dead silence is shattered with a track of breathy, creepy giggles, promptly establishing the atmosphere. Yuri makes her confession to you, but a normally sweet and innocent act is made appalling by both wording and magnitude. She talks about having suppressed her feelings for so long, but now she's finally laying down her guard and embracing her feelings. And unfortunately, that's not a good thing, because now she wants to pull open my skin and crawl inside.
What?
Doesn't that sound perfect?
Okay, and you guys want me to play this game because
Believe it or not, no, not really. And now I have to make a decision. What the hell, game? Something we should know about this game by now is that your decisions don't matter. It's basically Undertale. So regardless if you
see, like the one person who was talking about how what was it called? The one person who was just like choice they hate fake choices where I thought Undertale had choices. I thought it was Deltarune doesn't have choices, but like literally Doki doesn't have choices, illusion choices, and now it's such a popular game. So that's what I'm saying. It's like it doesn't matter. You can have illusion choices. It just have to be executed properly.
After confession, she will dreadfully and gruesomely take her own life in front of you. And if that wasn't bad enough, you have to look at her corpse for a whole weekend. Obviously not a full 48 real-life hours, but it
That would be
certainly
kinda
feels
crazy.
like it. Even fast-forwarding through all the wingdings takes an eternity. And as disgusting as this detail is, I have to mention it. While the lighting changes to inform you of the time passing, that same aspect is displayed through the darkening of the blood and desaturation of her eyes as the life gradually leaves her body. It's painful, but so immersive. When Natsuki returns to the classroom the next day, she acts like a regular person would to seeing the corpse of their friend.
Ew,
Screams, panics,
vomiting.
and vomits. But Monica, she laughs! Well, what a shame. Excuse me? Giving up on maintaining any discreetness, she straight up says, I didn't realize the script was broken that badly, and proceeds
Dang.
to delete yuri.chr and natsuki.chr. Your game
Dang.
starts itself again, and now it looks like this. Wow, so many options. This is the third act of the game, and now Monica isn't talking to the protagonist, but the player directly, and confirms this with, do you actually go by GPS or something? I never entered GPS into this game, but she manages to find this information by looking at the account name of whatever platform you're playing on, and it's absolutely brilliant. Throughout the entire narrative, Monica is breaking the fourth wall, but just through universal dialogue. All of these lines mean the same thing to every player, but climaxing that by having her know information outside of the game is just so perfectly scary. Especially for the superheroes, man. They must be shaking. Your
I would be like,
one-sided discussion
no!
with her mainly consists of
Are you
Monica
Spider-Man?
revealing the truth behind the absurdness that is Doki Doki Literature Club. Essentially, she knows it's a game. Gee, never would have guessed that. And the reason all the girls were acting up is because she has the ability to tamper with their files and make them as unlikable as possible, eventually driving them to their limits. But why would she do this, you may be
For
asking?
you,
Because
somebody.
she loves you. Yeah, don't worry, it's not supposed to make sense. Like, are you seriously telling me that if you had the power to alter the nature of other people, you would increase their depression, obsessiveness, and how much they were abused at home until they killed themselves just because they were spending more time than you liked with your crush? No! She speaks of the pain that
That's low-key kind of crazy when you say it like that. Well, when you say it like that, it's kind of crazy.
comes with knowing that she was essentially living in a simulation, and how hard it was knowing that she was totally alone. This isn't the greatest incentive I've ever seen, as it's not super relatable, but it's nice that something is there, so we can attempt to sympathize with this psychopath. But it's okay, because that's not Monica's purpose. She doesn't need to be a well-written character, she just needs to break the fourth wall. So love it or hate it, Monica is what makes this game. She's the reason anyone talks about DDLC, because she makes it unique. Most horror games consist of you running away from a threat, and it's obviously pretty effective. Doing everything you can to escape 9'6" Lady Dimitrescu certainly doesn't put you in a comfortable spot, unless you're Markiplier. But the difference with Doki Doki is that you don't even have the opportunity to run. Monica quite literally has you cornered with nowhere to go. So at this point, she seems to have finally gotten her happy ending, in the biggest air quotes you've ever seen. She'll be with you forever because there is nothing left. There's no dialogue options for you, your character doesn't have any lines, all you can do is just sit and listen. And you wouldn't believe how easy it was to delete Natsuki and Yuri. I mean, there's a folder called Characters right in the game directory. Oh, you really shouldn't have told me that. This is one of, if not the most creative way I've seen a game do a final boss, if you will. You have to manually access the files yourself. And well, hit that delete button on Monica's folder. But the creativity of this method and how well it ties into the main theme of the game is simply ingenious. As soon as her file is deleted, the game responds instantly as Monica glitches out of existence. In her final words, she asks for help, which no. And then she tells us, "You completely, truly make me sick. Goodbye."
Dang.
Oh, I'm the sick one now. But let's remember that Monica is basically God. So before she's truly gone, she decides to bring back everything in an effort to make everyone happy. So the game reboots one last time with a brand spanking new title screen. This is Act 4, where Sayori is the president of the Literature Club. And well, Monica isn't anywhere to be seen. There's none of those abrupt glitches either, so it really does feel like a standard dating sim, just without Monica to twist everything up. It's so relieving to see Sayori, Yuri, and Natsuki being their true selves again, and overall, just a great way to end the game. Sayori says thanks for joining the Literature Club, and it's just a lot of wholesome fun again. I wanted to thank you for getting rid of Monica. Oh, come on! All good things must come to an end. So now Sayori is self-aware for some reason. And now she's bringing us back to that room from before, doesn't know anything about social distancing, and is deleted. Monica is still alive somehow, and ultimately decides that there is no happiness after all, and destroys the game for good, which is probably for the best. The screen darkens, and all we're left with is static. But then, we hear a small voice breaking through.
Can you hear me?
It's Monica. I love these little lines of dialogue. They finally breathe some humanity into Monica, and her character becomes so much more sympathizable now that she feels a bit more like an actual person. It's not much, but hearing a voice that acknowledges imperfection and presents relatability is so nice to see after her barely having a character throughout the whole game. Plus, this song is a bop.
Every day I imagine a future where I can be with you.
It takes the main theme of the game and adds some super cute lyrics on top of it. I love it when games do this. Leitmotifs in general are cool as hell, but lyrics...
Nah, honestly, low-key, I was low-key trying to get like an ending like this, bro. I don't know how they did it. Wait. Oh wait. They weren't just two teams like Undertale and Tammy. I was just wondering, I was like, how they do it? But they probably had a bit more because they had to get someone to sing that. Nah, because that right there, I already know you have to do extra stuff for that. In this world of infinite voices, every day I imagine a place I can be with you. Wow, I did not even say it. Ripperoni.
make them oh so special. This game has had its fair share of messed up things, but it's incredibly gratifying to come full circle, back to Act 1 in simpler times. The player can finish DDLC without having nightmares, as they've ended on a happy note. They can put down the game saying, I'm glad I played that. But wait a minute, the title of the video is The Horrific Ingenuity of Doki Doki Literature Club Plus. So let's talk about the additional content, which isn't technically DLC, but let's just pretend it is. The Doki Doki Literature Club downloadable content, or the DDLC DLC. The first major upgrade is this incredible box art. The original looked like this. It's a recreation of the title screen.
You get 15, you pay $15 for the box art just like Nintendo.
Pretty cute, but I find it just a bit bland. I assume Team Salvato realized this as well, so they made this masterpiece. I remember seeing this for the first time and laughing, not only because this free indie PC game was getting a console port and a physical release, but the fact that it's literally just Monica, which is hilariously thematically perfect. I also feel like this is legitimately the best official Monica art we've gotten. Since she's not a romanceable character, we never got these high quality artworks like the rest of the girls in the base game. You've got her sprites, which are just two poses with different facial expressions, her chibi models, and her in Act 3. That's not to say that these are done poorly, but this one just blows them out of the water. Monica looks a bit more lively, which makes a lot of sense when taking into account the new side stories introduced with this version of the game. But we'll get to those later, because inside the box, there's a bunch of extra goodies. Dan Salvato even did his own unboxing video. Like, let's go! You've got a Literature Club member card, which you can bet I filled out, a soundtrack download card, a poem, standees, stickers. Dude, stickers! All of this for half the price of a regular Switch game too. Like, that's so cool. We stan Dan. That being said though, the home screen icon is a bit lame. Like, why isn't Monica's face plastered over this thing as well? Being a PC port, there's gonna have to be a few changes so it can actually work on consoles. Some necessary and some unnecessary. Like adding autosaves, which thanks, I guess? I don't know if it's just me, but I feel like if you're playing this game, you're probably old enough to have the competence to manually save, but who knows. I also want to touch on the font size. Why is it so small now? I couldn't tell you if I wanted to. It's not a horrible change, but like, it was fine on PC. Most are gonna play this on a TV or monitor, so it's not the end of the world. But keep in mind this thing is on Switch, and I don't imagine this is a lot of fun to read in handheld mode. Unfortunately, this is one of the more trivial changes. That's not to say the console version is unplayable. It's still the same phenomenal experience, but I do think it's slightly inferior due to a few of the modifications they had to make. The mouse dragging section was one of the most mind-blowing mechanics of the original release of DDLC, and she basically pulls your mouse towards her name, making it extremely difficult to click on Yuri or Natsuki. Like I mentioned before, the console port adjusts this section so whatever name you have selected is replaced with Monica. It's an admirable fix, but it was never going to be the same. The subtle, physical battle of the cursor is all the more exemplary from a game design perspective. The next one takes place in Act 3, and not every player is going to come across this. The only way you'd actually know of this is if you're a YouTuber or a streamer, or have watched a Let's Play of one. In short, Monica can detect if OBS or XSplit are running, and will respond with, hold on a second, You're recording this, aren't you? Which is so extraordinarily clever and terrifying. Exactly what you want in Act 3. And if that wasn't enough, you get one of the funniest jump scares ever. She says she'll do a trick for the folks at home. So the camera slowly zooms in, and you just sit in fear anticipating for something to happen. But nothing does. And then she gets you mid-text box, and jeez, it is so funny seeing other people's reactions to this as they fall into a false sense of security, only to face their inevitable rude awakening.
I'm just kidding. I can't do anything after all. Did you get it? Oh my fucking god, are you kidding me?
The reason I
Etika?
bring this up is not only because it's brilliant as hell, but because it's not in the Plus version. Which, to be fair, isn't Team Salvato's fault. It's Monica's, for being an idiot that can't detect my capture card. The last, and maybe the most major change, was the desktop. Obviously, consoles don't have a functioning desktop with folders and files that apply directly to applications, so they had to work around this. Their solution was an in-game
Oh,
desktop,
wow.
which, yeah, works, but it's not
That looks nice. That looks very nice, Chad.
nearly as effective. It's so much scarier knowing that Monica has a presence on your computer outside the game, and you don't exactly get that feeling when the desktop is within the game. Again, this is nobody's fault. I just think DDLC is truly at home and shines its brightest on PC. On the bright side, this is probably the best way they could have implemented it, and they turned it into a sort of menu, which is fairly creative in itself. You can access artworks, music, poems, backgrounds, and wallpapers too, so at least you got some form of customization to make it feel a little bit more personal. There's also a bunch of emails to unlock, which are subject to a ton of speculation for all the Doki Doki lore enthusiasts out there. Not for me, but
And this is why it's a game theory. Matt Pat was like, listen, Doki Doki's gonna have a sequel and it's gonna be set in the. I remember telling my friend about Doki Doki or Matt Pat's theories. He's like, nope, 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 never listen to that, never listen to Matt Pat's theory. And then he's like, oh man, I'm sad that Matt Pat's great. I'm like, bro, you don't like listening to his theories. It's like, it's still sad. It's still heartbreaking to know that he's not gonna be around. I'm like, you ain't even like his theories.
it's cool that it's there. The final and most substantial addition to DDLC Plus are the side stories. These are unlocked by going through different routes in the base game, but that's not to say it's more of the same. To be honest, it's hard to consider these a game as you don't actually make any decisions. In fact, the protagonist isn't even involved, it's just reading. From what I gather, these side stories take place in an alternate timeline where Monica isn't God and without Giga Chad ever joining the club. Or at least, before he does. All of them are surprisingly wholesome and educational actually. Each is named after the life lesson they teach, and tell stories of how two of the characters establish and improve their friendship with that value. I wasn't sure what to expect going in, and it certainly wasn't this. But that's not to say I'm disappointed. I'm not going to go over every single one, but I'll touch on the first so you have an idea of what they're like. Trust is the start of the timeline and one of my favorites. It starts with Monica addressing the club, until we realize that nobody's actually there. She's trying to start her own club, but every day, nobody comes in. That is, until Sayori joins. It's so bizarre seeing Monica express this self-doubt, have an actual character, and properly interact with the rest of the cast. But I'm all for it. The dialogue in these conversations are so pure and adorable. Seeing them brainstorm ideas for club activities.
I'm sorry, I just noticed. I'm sorry, this is someone who does visual novels. I had noticed Sayori's hair. Okay, so for y'all who don't know, I Artist choice on this channel for free, right? There's this one thing people kept bugging me about, which was the fact that the hair or the ears or something wasn't properly colored in, right? And so I'm looking at what's her name? Sayori, and I saw her hair and I was like, is that colored? I was just like, is this colored in? It's just a tip. The tip. I was just like, is this colored in? Is this colored in? I couldn't tell, but it's just like, I was just looking at it, I was like, oh my goodness. Because, like, yo, people really be looking at the tiniest things. And it's something that now it's just like, because I was forced to look at it, I was just like, oh my god. Like, it's something that I be looking sometimes. I was just like, oh my goodness, is this colored? Is this colored? It like you like, I bet like you guys probably didn't even notice that, but because I had to notice, I was just like, is this colored in? Like this tiny thing right here. And it's just like, probably it is colored. It was just the way it looks a little different from the rest. And I was just like, because like this side doesn't look like that, but this side does, and I was just like, is this colored? Imagine like how much money they put there. I'm just looking at this like, is this colored in?
It's loads of fun. I love how one of their ideas is to hunt for people reading books. So they find Yuri, slip a flyer onto her desk, and it freaking works. But they always make sure to integrate a conflict the girls have to get past to strengthen their bonds. Monika finds out about Sayori's depression, and suddenly feels extremely guilty for being selfish about her vision of the club and not caring about Sayori's feelings. They end up writing poetry together to express those feelings and start to build trust in one another. Sayori becomes open about her depression for the first time in her life, and Monika is there for her. It's beautiful seeing Monika give her the words she so desperately needed to hear. This isn't putting up with you, it's being your friend. Now, the soundtrack of the base game wasn't bad by any means, but the new songs are so much better, making moments like these all the more special. Heck, this song's even called Hug Energy. Is that not the coolest thing in the world?
Hug
Overall,
Energy.
Doki Doki Literature Club Plus is a pretty generous package. While I believe the original game is very much meant to be played on PC, it still works here. The base game is so jam-packed with horrific ingenuity that a few changes aren't going to decrease its quality too much. Either way, I'm grateful for its existence, as I'm not sure how long it would have taken for me to play it again otherwise. There are plenty of things I didn't talk about here. I think I covered all the important stuff though, and the main things that make DDLC so special. Make sure to follow me on Twitter at LittleMoniX3. I'm very popular and have many followers, so
dang.
make that big
That's
number
crazy.
go bigger. I'll keep this
Well,
outro
can you
brief
make my
as this
number
video
go
is
big?
way longer than I expected it to be, but you know I have to say thank you. Especially
Can you make my numbers go big, chat? Please make my numbers go big. That'll be much appreciated.
if you made it this far. I love making these videos, and it's amazing when other people love them as well. I look forward to an incredible 2022 with y'all, and I'm beyond excited for what's to come. Thank you again, and I hope you have a fantastic day.
Okay. Anywho, chat. That was the video. Just remember that we literally looked at what's her name? Is it Sayori? We literally looked at Sayori. We were literally judging because we're like, is this hair colored in? Bro, imagine someone really comes. If you're new to the videos that I make, if you watch the entirety of the video, you should be like, comment, not colored in. Because I literally was just like, is this colored in? Anywho, well, with that being said, that's gonna be all. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. You guys have a great one. Bye bye.